In July of 1990, I'm leading the points, and we're at the Pepsi 400. And I'm leading the points, and your dad's second in the points. And we run it's afternoon race or day race. Maybe starts at 11 about that time or something like that. It wasn't night race yet. And we run the 400 miles, both of us. And then after that, the IROC race was at Lake Burke, Lakefront, whatever it is in Cleveland, in conjunction with the IndyCar race. And so Hilton and going to use NASCAR's plane and fly Dale and myself and Terry Labonte and I think it was Rusty. Yeah, Rusty, up there and do that IROC race. So we go up there, we practice the cars, we run the race. It's a long day. We finally get done running the race. I don't know why we were there so late. Maybe we stayed and watched the IndyCar race. I don't know. But I remember we landed back in Charlotte. Well, when we left Cleveland, I realized I had a problem because I didn't live in Charlotte. I lived in Greensboro.
Yeah.
And so we landed about midnight in Charlotte. And I mean, dude, I don't know what I'm going to do. They said, I'll drive you home. If the roles would have been reversed, I don't think I would have done that. Not at midnight. Because it's 2 hours to Greensboro and then 2 more hours back home. But he said, I drive you home, And so he drove me home at 2 o'clock in the morning. He dropped me off at my house and he drove back home. I think Dale wanted to get to know me even better. I think he wanted to probably know who he was going up against. I had emerged. I had run third in 1989 in the points, won a race, but damn near won a bunch of races. And I think Dale wanted to know this fella even deeper because he might have to contend with me going forward. But I always think about that and think about how special it, because when you raced out there with him on the racetrack, the way I could describe it would be like he had a snarl, it's like, whoa, but he treated me with respect on the racetrack and especially off the racetrack. Now, we did have a couple of brush ups, and I go into that story every once in a while as well. But he was testing me. When we had those brush ups, it was a test to see what I would do, how I would react. Would I bow down? Would I cry and complain? Boy, he didn't like that. He did not like the ones that would whine about it. And I'm not going to name no names, but I watched that movie. I was never going to, plus it wasn't my nature, but I was never going to do that because he just continued to poke and prod. But he started poking me once in, I believe it was 93. He just out of the blue, he'd start waiting for me in practice on the mile and a half or 2 miles. He'd wait for me. And then he'd get on my outside and hang there. Well, the cars were starting to do that real bad by then. They were starting. And, he'd do it and I'd just slam on brakes, get a half a lap, because I didn't want none of that. Because, we weren't to see who had the biggest gonads at that point didn't mean nothing. Yeah. It was nothing. Well, he did that about 4 times, and then we'll go out for practice at Michigan. There he goes, up to the top, back, then on my outside. And I don't know how I did it. I flew hot. It just made me so, I wanted to be left alone. I'm trying to get my car just like I want it. I can't concentrate on that one. I got, all this stuff going on. And so I flew hot, and somehow or another I flipped it on him just like that. I was on his outside. I don't know. I don't remember how I did it. I got just like that. Before he knew it, I was on his outside. He lost it, wiped us out. You know, I never lost it because I wasn't going to try to man up. This wasn't the time for that, you know. And boy, I was mad because I had we'd build one good car and 3 mediocre cars. And this one was spectacular. And I was going to kill him with that thing.
Yeah.
And I wiped her out. And I was pissed. You know, and he was running for championship, and I was so far in points I wasn't. I was like, oh, he's got a lot more to lose than I do. Do that as much as he wants, you know.
Yeah. Did y'all ever talk about it?
We never spoke about it, so that wasn't the end of the story. The next week we go to Loudon, for crying out loud, and he sees me, pulls on the outside, gets on my outside. The next week, I just, bam, doored him up into the marbles. Kept going. I can't say this for sure because I didn't hear it said, but a very, very, I really believe the person that told, reliable source, said he stepped out of the car and said, I think Mark's had enough.
That's
he was just doing that.
Yeah.
You know, and I wasn't going to say nothing, you know, I mean, and then back to Golden again, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, and you know, if you look at it, people like to say that one race at Sonoma that he, you know, bump and run me, he didn't even get to my bumper. I slipped in oil, and that's when he got by me. I can't recall him ever bump and running me. Now, when he did belt me in the back bumper a few times.
Yeah.
But he never turned me, moved me in our whole time that we raced, ever. And I've watched him race a lot of people, and I've seen him race a lot of people a lot rougher than he ever did me. So for that, I'm really humbled and proud because I believe that he had a lot of respect for me in that, you know, in that way.
Yeah, I think you're right. You know, I love hearing you talk about my dad because I know the character that you have as a person, and I know that you appreciate Dad, and I think that, you know, he felt the same way about you.